Champion Tree program was started with American Forest back in 1941 to create an archive of all of the oldest and largest trees in the United States. I got into big trees and then Googled big trees, and it led me down the rabbit hole of champion trees, and then I found out about American Forest. 2 years later, now I'm doing it full time. The first time I think I had a realization of seeing a big tree and being like, that's not normal, was my first trip I ever did to the Olympic National Forest, and just seeing massive western red cedars and Sitka spruce that were unlike anything. I'm originally from the East Coast, so we don't have anything like that on the East Coast compared to what there is in the Pacific Northwest. I think there is the thrill of like not really being able to comprehend it. Like seeing a tree that might be 500 plus years old, and then just thinking about what that tree's endured, what it's seen, the changes it's gone through, and trying to like grasp that. Because our life is so small, and we tend to think in that timeline of maybe 100 years. But when you try to think outside of that, and you're with this tree that's experienced that, it puts a lot of things in perspective. Year one, successful. Built out a van, living out of a van, traveling around the country. I got a map of all the trees now. And so far this year I was able to photograph 68 trees, and I've collected digital files, leaf samples, audio files of all these trees, and working with American Forest to build this archive.
How many are there?
In total there's 778, so I have about 9 years left. My math that I did was if I started the project year one and I was able to complete it in 10 years, it would be a tree every 4.5 days for the next 10 years to complete it. So that's what I got left. Year one's down. I shoot everything on large format film, Kodak large format. The reason for it, it's a slowed down process. You can't just get to this tree and just snap away carelessly. Every shot is somewhat meticulously thought out, waiting for light, figuring out your angle that best represents the tree, and not just getting there and looking at it as this tourist checklist, you know? I'm not just trying to go to each tree and hit it as a checklist, but I'm actually trying to create a beautiful image that I think represents the tree the best it can be. For every tree I've been recording audio, and I think audio plays a huge role into the experience for the viewer to be able to understand what it's like to be in this environment that this tree's been maybe stuck in for 1,200 years. Yeah, I think it just adds a whole nother dimension to the experience. You can feel like they're there. Maybe it's in the desert and they live in upstate New York, or it's in the swamps of Georgia, you know, wherever. And it's basically to like play on the imagination and let people really have a feeling of what it's like to be where this tree's at. I have even friends of mine that love nature, but they don't appreciate trees because it's something that I think we just take for granted. You know, that they're there, and every year there's leaves on the tree, but you realize the older you get how fragile that ecosystem is. And if you know you don't get snowfall, trees might not come back to insulate the main reason is with climate change. I mean, climate change is always happening. It's just happening more rapidly now, and we're aware of it because it's actually affecting us. We're losing trees faster due to this all happening. And if there was never proof that, I mean, like, again, there's 778 trees. Maybe 1% of the population even knows that half these exist. And that's a shame. So I'm trying to go around and document these to the best that I can to share with everyone.